daily astrology for the third week of June. We have some really, really interesting transits this week, along with the summer solstice on Wednesday. So we start off this week with the moon in the sign of Cancer. The moon is going to stay in the sign of Cancer until Tuesday. On Monday, we have a sextile between Jupiter in the sign of Taurus and Saturn in the sign of Pisces. So anytime you have Jupiter coming into contact with another planet, one of the possibilities that you have there is that Jupiter is going to put an emphasis and a focus on the attributes that you get from that planet within that sign. So the current archetype that you're working with and the traits that you're working with within that planet. So Saturn in the sign of Pisces. Saturn is in a water sign. It's in a feminine sign. Much different than the signs of Capricorn and Aquarius, which Saturn rules, where it's been for the last few years. In the sign of Pisces, with Jupiter making an aspect, you have an emphasis on this like deep, serious contemplation. That's the broadest term that I can kind of come up with. There can be like deep emotional dramatics that come along with the review process and the reflection within the sign of Pisces. There can be deep love and devotion. There can be almost a melancholic type feeling that comes along with it. It's very much a Venusian place. It's very feminine, but it's also very, very deep at the same time. So it's very, very slow moving, changeable, and flowing, but flowing within collective conscious type way, okay? It's like swimming in this big bowl of like Pisces soup, and that's where Saturn is right now. And that's not exactly a Saturn strong suit, but that's where he's at right now. And then I also think it's interesting with Jupiter in the sign of Taurus. Jupiter is sitting in a solid sign right now. So the sign of Taurus likes to keeps things status quo. It likes to keep things steady and moving at the same pace, not really changing, not really coming out of the norm. Then you have Jupiter there. You have the great benefic that says, let's expand, let's think, let's bring in abundance, let's bring something else in, some sort of philosophy or some sort of knowledge or wisdom or action that's a little bit different. So you have this planet that wants to reach out and bring things in, but then you have it in a sign that kind of that's very grounded, very earthy, and is very comfortable in its own place. On the other hand of the sextile, you have Saturn, the planet that likes structure and likes having something to do with boundaries, whether it's staying in it or reaching out of the boundaries. And it's in this sign that likes to pull things apart. It's in this very pensive sign of Pisces that likes to reflect and pull all of the pieces of like what happened and what's going on apart and put it all into that big Pisces soup that you have, right? So I find it interesting that on one hand, you have the expansive planet in the sign that likes to keep things stable and small and right here, and then on the other side you have the planet that likes to keep things small, maybe perhaps small and right here, but it's in the sign that likes to expand. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, so that brings in a little extra oomph from the sign of Jupiter too. So this aspect has been applying for a couple weeks now. We've been in this energy for a little while, and it's going to stay. The two planets are going to stay at 7 degrees throughout the rest of this week. So through Saturday, you're going to have this transit very, very active. Through July 4th, you're going to have this transit within a 3-degree activation range. So on the separating end, you're going to have all the way until July 4th, Monday, July 4th, to work with this, but definitely through this week, through Saturday, where it's going to be exact. So you have this push and pull here between these two planets of wanting to expand and wanting to stabilize, wanting to structurize and review things and bring, it's almost like bringing a structure out of something new while stabilizing it. So bringing a structure, Saturn in the sign of Pisces, out of something new that's come out of what we look at, what's already happened, what works and what doesn't work. And then Jupiter is expanding that in the sign of Taurus, where it's expanding the knowledge and the wisdom and the information that is needed, but in a very solid, grounded, and confident manner. This aspect here is the first aspect for Jupiter and Saturn after their conjunction in December 21st of 2020. So that conjunction in 2020 started a new cycle for the two planets. Now this sextile here is the first aspect. So you think of the conjunction like a seeding point, okay? It's like a new start, new beginning. It's kind of like a new moon for two planets for their cycle together. That's like the seeding moment where like you plant the seed, okay? And then the first aspect is the sextile. That's where we're at right now. In 2024, we'll have the square, which will be the next aspect of where we're at right now. So we had the seeding point with the new moon, or with the conjunction. And then we have the sextile, this first aspect here. So this is like the germination point of the seed. So we planted the seed, and now it's germinating, and now it's just starting to sprout within the soil per se. That's a great analogy for an earth sign and sign of Taurus too. So you have the seeding point, and now it's starting to sprout. So now there's not a whole lot of work that needs to be done quite yet. Things are just starting to come together, and you're just starting to see the pieces slowly starting to come together. The next aspect, the square, that's going to require a little bit more work. So that's like once the plant starts to sprout above ground, it starts to grow, and you need to start to tend to it a little bit. You need to start to water it. You need to make sure it's got the right sunlight. You need to make sure it has the right amount of fertilizer and doesn't have pests and whatnot. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of where we're at here with this cycle that we have. These cycles are 20-year cycles, so this one started in 2020, and then we'll have a new cycle that starts, I believe, in 2040. So you can work with this aspect all this week. Looking at where Taurus and Pisces are in your chart, and where in the sign of Taurus do you have this solid abundance that's growing, and where in the sign of Pisces, what house that falls in for you, where do you see structures growing, where do you see things starting to come together in that aspect, where in Taurus they're starting to kind of expand. And you'll see that the two of them are working together here as well. So on Tuesday, the moon moves to the sign of Leo, and that is where we have Venus and Mars sitting right now. So they won't make an aspect today, but they will this week. They will come in contact with each other. As soon as the moon enters the sign of Leo, it's going to make an opposition to the sign of Pluto. Now, I look at moon transits as, I look at them as like triggering points. So the opposition to Pluto is about 5 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. If you live in a different area, you'll have to translate your own time zone there. But I look at that time frame, let's say Tuesday from like 4 p.m. to like 6 p.m., there is a little possibility of some intensity in there. There could be some fire, there could be some emotion, there could be some sort of fixation or some sort of like standing your ground type of thing. So anything that comes up about 5 o'clock Tuesday, remember that Pluto and the moon are an aspect. I would just kind of be a little careful. You know, accidents, things like that are possible to come out of moon aspects, but really, really great things are able to too. So maybe something great and transformational will come about Tuesday for you. On Wednesday, we'll have the moon in the sign of Leo still, and we have the summer solstice. The summer solstice is where the sun reaches 0 degrees of Cancer, and this is one of the anchoring points for our tropical zodiac. Okay, so this is where we get our tropical zodiac versus the Vedic zodiac from. And the summer solstice, what is that? The summer solstice is the longest day of the year. So we have the most amount of daylight in the northern hemisphere. But then we have this instant change. So it's a turning point in the seasons and in the astrological year as well. So you have this growing through the sign of Gemini. You've had this growing amount of daylight within the northern hemisphere, and then you reach 0 degrees Cancer. You have the longest day, and then you instantly have this change. You instantly have this handover from light to dark, because now light is no longer gaining during the daytime, but now dark is going to start gaining in its time. So you have this like growing of light, and you have this like, you know, the most amount of light that you're going to have all year long, and then you have this instant change where light is still dominant, but it's starting to fade. So we see this in the sign of Cancer. We see this like trying to hold on to the light and trying to hold on to the good. We see it in the sign of Leo as well, where the moon is in it, or sorry, the sun is in its domicile. On Wednesday, we also have a sextile between Mercury in the sign of Gemini and Mars in the sign of Leo. So during the summer solstice, we have a sextile between the sign of Taurus, an earth sign, and Pisces, a water sign, and then we have a sextile between Gemini, an air sign, and Leo, a fire sign. So I see this equality and I see this balance this week within the solstice here. You know, you have this handover of light. So you have where light is dominant and light is gaining, and then it hands over to where dark starts to gain. So it just brings in this idea of this duality to me, where everything is level and everything is balanced, okay? And I don't know, it's just really, really magnificent to me. So Mercury in the sign of Gemini is very, very much multifaceted. It's in its own home sign. It's very much an intellectual Mercury. So Mercury has to deal with our mind and our perception, our communications, the tools that we work with, the tools of our mind, and it's coming into a sextile, into a favorable aspect with Mars in the sign of Leo, in the fiery sign. So Mars in Leo is very action driven, and it's very much looking for authenticity. Okay, Leo is about bringing forward authenticity, so authenticity within actions. So you have, on one hand of the solstice, you have this authenticity of your mind and your thoughts and your communications, and this sextile that's trying to bring about our like our inner truth, is trying to bring out that fire that's within us, and it's bringing it out through Mercury. So the way we communicate through our words and through our actions through Mars. And then you have the sextile between Jupiter and Saturn. So you have, on the other hand, you have this great stabilizing structure in this new structure and this new paradigm within your own life that is creating here within this turning point of the astrological year. It's just like absolutely amazing here. And then you're going to have a sextile to Chiron thrown in there as well on Thursday. So that's everything that we were talking about was on Wednesday. On Thursday, you're going to have Mercury at 19 degrees of Gemini. You're going to have Mars at 19 degrees of Leo, and you're going to have Chiron at 19 degrees of Aries. So Chiron is going to be sextiling Mercury, and it's going to be trining Mars. So it's going to be in both favorable aspects to both of those planets. Chiron deals with wounds and baggage, things that we carry, things that hold us back. It can be collective or personal, but it has to do with wounds and baggage and things that are hard, things that are difficult, things that weigh us down, right? So I find it really interesting that this week, within this turning point, we have these great, like, positive, forward, really like life-changing and life-shaking up energies. And then at the very end of it, we have these sextiles to Chiron. We have the sextiles and the favorable aspects to the wounded healer that is here to help us move past those things that don't serve us well and really hold us back while we speak our authentic truth through Mars and Mercury, while we create foundations that are going to be stable and last us a lifetime, and they're going to be very grounded in the sign of Taurus. This is a great time for bringing in something new. Whatever it is that you've been itching at, whatever that seed is that was planted in 2020 when the world was going to hell and things were all breaking apart, that right there is your future, and that is your truth. So then the moon will move into, on Thursday, the moon will move into the sign of Virgo, and that's where it will stay until Sunday. And on Sunday, we will start with a new video. So that is our astrology for this week. I will see you on Tuesday for our healing meditation circle. Every week we have a meditation that we live stream to both YouTube and Facebook. So we're going to talk about these aspects again on Tuesday, and then we're going to meditate on it. Find us on YouTube, find us on Facebook, find us on Instagram, our website, meditativeastrology.com, and I'll see you next week.